Now I think we are live. Second, let me check on Facebook. Yeah. Yeah, we are live. We are live. Okay. Now let's put this view for full screen. And we have it. אוקיי, אז ערב טוב לכל תושבי ארץ ולכל תושבי היקום. היום החמישי לחמישי 2021, השעה היא 19:07, יום רביעי, או זה מה שלפחות רוצים שנדע. והיום אנחנו כאן עם Dear David Icke. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. How are you doing? I've been hearing a lot about what's been going on in Israel over the last few months. Some of it sounds horrific. I mean, it's not great here. I mean, it's pretty much going around the world. But from what I see, it's really been extreme in Israel.
Well, we are a big laboratory for Mr. Burla from Pfizer, and let's say that the government sell all of us. So we are worried. I'm not worried about the adults because I know that they are stupid mind, and but I'm afraid and worried for the Israeli kids, because the Zionism is really sold the Israeli people, and I'm worried, my friend, and this is why I wanted to talk with you, because I will talk with all the knowledge and smart friends that I have all over the world in all the languages that I know, to try to save the kids. Only the kids. We don't have another thing to do,
Well, the question of the children, of course, is a global one, because in this country they're having trials with children, very young children. We're seeing trials around the world, actually not trials, just giving you the impression they're trials, just like the trials for the adults. And they're having trials with babies as young as 6 months. And the whole pressure now in the next few months through the rest of this year is going to be vaccinating. Well, it's not a vaccine, it's a medical procedure, a genetically manipulating medical procedure, vaccinating children. Now, if you, well, you're coming from where I'm coming from and have been since this started, there is no bloody virus. It's a nonsense. It's never been shown to exist. And when you break it down to the alleged infection to fatality rate of 0.23% or even 0.15%, then take away the fact that the test is not testing for the virus. The RT-PCR test is not testing for the virus, as its creator, Kerry Mullis, has said. So all these cases, I say 100%, you take those fake cases away, and as a result, you take the fake deaths away, because the deaths are designated on the death certificate COVID-19 if someone's had a positive test, with a test not testing for the virus. So where I'm going with this is just take those false death certificates and those false cases away from the infection fatality rate alleged of 0.23% or 0.15%, and you're left with zero. Quite demonstrably, you're left with zero. And more people are now, even in the science profession, are starting to say, hold on a minute, where is this virus? No one seems to have it. No one has got it, because there's not a scientific paper on planet Earth that has shown this alleged virus to exist. It's all a massive psychological psyop. But even if you take the official figures and you accept there is one, is a virus and all that stuff, just take the official figures. There is absolutely no reason whatsoever to vaccinate young people. None, none. And this whole scam of, they could pass on the virus to the vulnerable. Well, ladies and gentlemen of this global cult that's behind all this, you have been killing the vulnerable in vast, vast numbers for the last more than a year. You've been killing old people in the care homes through lack of treatment and lost will to live because they've not been able to see their families. You've been killing people through lack of treatment and lack of diagnosis in the hospitals all over the world, which you claim to be because they're overwhelmed, when from the inside they're reported to be never been so quiet. This is why when citizen journalists have gone into these war zone hospitals with their cameras, they've shown like the Mary Celeste, there's nothing going on. And so you've been killing the very people that you say that children must be, quote, vaccinated to protect all the way through. It's been genocide, continual genocide, and more people on the inside of like the National Health Service in Britain are coming out and using that very word. It's genocide what's going on. Genocide, for instance, with this vaccine, alleged vaccine, because you look at the number of reports of adverse reactions and deaths relating to the so-called vaccine, and you are looking at a tiny, tiny fraction of actual adverse effects and actual deaths. Even the authorities accept that the reporting of vaccine adverse reactions and deaths is about 10% of actually the figure that's going on. And you look then at the pressure being put on health professionals all over the world now not to particularly report these COVID fake vaccines in terms of adverse effects and deaths, and you're going to have a much smaller figure than 10%. In fact, there was a Stanford study which reckoned that only about 1% of vaccine adverse reactions and other consequences are actually reported. So when you think that even under those circumstances in Britain, we're past 1,000 deaths reported to be connected through the official reporting systems to these vaccines, and we're well past 600,000 adverse reactions. Now you multiply them by 10 alone, and you'll get somewhere where we are. And now they're saying we must give this to children who, even if you believe there is a virus, have no chance of being affected by it. And so you have this justification. It always comes down to this in the end, that these children can pass on the virus to vulnerable people. There is absolutely no evidence whatsoever. Some people at the World Health Organization have admitted this, that people with no symptoms can pass on this alleged disease. It's a scam. And it's been pulled off through three simple things. One, they're using a test, not testing for the virus, which is testing positive for a genetic material in the body, in the sample, not for a virus, as the creator said. It cannot, he said, Kerry Mullis, detect or diagnose infectious disease. That's exactly what they're using it for, and they know it can't, so they're lying at number one. That test is giving them the cases. Then if people test positive and die of any other cause, including, as we've seen, gunshot wounds in places like America, COVID-19 goes on the death certificate, that gives you your deaths. And to justify total lockdown, you have to put people under the restrictions who are perfectly healthy for the first time. Because the idea of lockdowns is to destroy the independent incomes of the population, so everyone becomes dependent on the state, and dependency means control. You do what the state tells you, or you get nothing back from the state. And where else are you going to go for your livelihood or your survival, because we've destroyed everything? So that's what lockdowns have all been about. But for lockdowns to work, it would not have had that effect if only people who were said to be ill or infectious were put under quarantine, under house arrest, in effect, lockdown. Because all the other people, the vast, vast, vast overwhelming majority who were not affected, were not ill, had no symptoms, haven't tested positive with a test not testing for the virus, you can't lock them down, but you have to lock them down. Because the idea is nothing to do with health, it's destroying the livelihoods of the population. So you've got to lock them down as well. And so this brings me to the third point on this trio, the very foundation of this scam, which is claiming with no evidence that even though you've got no symptoms, you can pass on the infection, and therefore you have to be locked down as well, even though there's nothing wrong with you. And they're the 3 points that have pulled this off. And of course, where it's leading is to justify in the next stage, my God, are you seeing that in Israel? The suppression of the lives of anyone who doesn't submit to this fascism and have this genetically manipulating medical procedure, because of these passports that are now appearing all over the place, because it's globally coordinated.
Well, as we both know, that Israel is the pilot. I mean, what is going to be closed here is going to go to all over the world. So the thing is that what you talk about, the passport, the green passport, they call it here in Israel, it's dividing the people.
That's interesting. That's interesting, because all these other passports that are appearing, which is basically a global passport, they're all using the word green.
So nothing is, everything is planned. They have it already there. So the division that they make now to the Israeli people, I mean, you can have a family with 6 people, let's say, and 3 go vaccinated, 3 didn't vaccinated themselves. So what is now happening? All the vaccinated people said, "Oh, you're not vaccinated." So, I mean, you can see pictures that a family go to a restaurant. It's true. It's not a joke. And you can see 3 sitting in the restaurant, and the other 3 are in a line, with a line, sitting outside. Same family, same house, same everything. But you see the division that you have from this particular family of 6. Now, take it for the 9 million people here in Israel. I mean, the division is, people lose jobs. I don't care about, discotheques or restaurants, because for me it's better that people don't go there. But people are losing the way to feed themselves, to feed the kids. And what happened in the school now? What's going to happen with you have a classroom for 35 kids, and they are all okay, but the government called them quiet bombs. This is how they call them in the news. The kids are quiet bombs. Now you put a teacher in a classroom, and now you have to close all the school and take all the 35 kids to home to be quarantined, because the teacher have the false test, positive, and now all the school is in risk. So this is the system. Maybe try to vaccinate all the kids. I don't know. And the division, please, David, say something about the division that they make here.
Well,
I mean,
you're right that Israel is being used as a laboratory. That's why it went ahead with this so fast. And the consequences that are beginning to play out elsewhere were seen in Israel from the start. And just before we get into that, that division, there is a reason for that. I have heard people, Jewish people in Israel, including some lawyers, talking about the fact that what is happening in Israel today has the feel of the run-up to what happened in Nazi Germany. They're actually talking in those terms. And it seems on the face of it an extraordinary thing. I mean, to an outsider who if you didn't know the background, the way that the non quote vaccinated Israeli population is being treated by its government, when you see what happened in Nazi Germany, is absolutely bewildering. It's shocking, but not if you know the background. You know, we've talked about this before, and I've written about it at length in my books. Israel is not run ultimately by Jewish people. It's run by a death cult known as Sabbateanism, Sabbateans. And the Rothschilds are Sabbatean. They're not Jewish, they're Sabbatean. And this is a death cult. And Sabbateanism is an inversion of, well, it's an inversion of everything, but it's an inversion of Judaism. And if you you look at the books of people like Rabbi Marvin Antelman, the two books to eliminate the opiate. He's kind of paraphrasing there Karl Marx. And he points out in his books that Karl Marx was a frontman for this Sabbatean cult. Marvin Antelman worked much of his life to expose this Sabbatean cult, which claims to be Jewish but isn't. And so you go to Nazi Germany, and this Sabbatean cult was behind the Nazis. So it's and in the same way, the global cult in general, in which the Sabbatean cult is now a major and very influential part, is behind this COVID hoax globally. So you suddenly start to see why people, and even, like I say, lawyers in Israel, Jewish lawyers, are starting to say, hold on a minute, this is starting to look like the run up to Nazi Germany in terms of what's happening. I mean, you're having deck chairs on the beach for vaccinated only. This is Israel after what happened? What, only a few decades ago? Because the same force is in control. That's why. And Netanyahu is one of them. He's a Sabbatean frontman. Why do you think he's ended up in power for so long? And you know, it's like everywhere else. Even though he might be under pressure now yet again in terms of holding on. I mean, you look at Bennett. Crikey, he's going to change things, isn't he? If he gets involved in government. So it's a situation where what this Sabbatean cult does, it did the same. It's done the same with Islam. It's the force behind the extreme versions of Islam, like Wahhabism, and they've done the same with the Roman Church. They infiltrated the Roman Church. They control that as well. And what they do is they pose as a race of people. They pose as a culture. They pose as a religion, and they pose as if they support it and we're one of you. And then they infiltrate. They manipulate themselves into the positions of power. And they run the show. And the population, if they're not informed on what's going on and how this cult works, they think that their own are running the country. They're not. They couldn't care less about Jewish people. In fact, they have contempt for Jewish people, like they have contempt for Roman Catholics and contempt for Arabs. This is the force that's behind all this, and one of the major forces behind this COVID hoax. But if there's a few of you and you want to control the many, you have to divide and rule the many. You have to turn the many against each other. So look what the Stasi police did in communist East Germany. They got the population to spy on the population, and they divided and ruled that way. And the key thing, the key difference between those who are seeing through this and refusing this fake vaccine and those who are just going along with it, without thinking, is because it's a division in those that have a mind of their own and those who've long given their mind away. You know, we talk about Jewish people and American people and British people and Arabic people, Hindu people, but, you know, you go beyond these labels and you see the same psychological states everywhere. The few who will question authority, do their own research and see if what authority is telling them stands up to scrutiny. Almost every time it doesn't. And those, the majority, who just do and believe whatever authority tells them. And it doesn't matter, my God, has the last year been confirmation of that, how many times authority lies to them and is shown and exposed to be lying to them, they'll still believe the next lie. So let's look at this vaccine situation from that perspective. Why are they saying that people who've had the injection can go to places and continue to work, and those who haven't cannot? Why are they saying that? Well, we're saying that because people will be protected by the vaccine, and then they won't spread it and they won't get it, right? So they're all right. Well, let's hold on just a frickin' second. Not even the makers of these fake vaccines are claiming that it stops transmission or stops you getting it. The best they've claimed, and even that is highly, highly debatable to say the least, not least because there isn't a virus, that some of the worst symptoms may be suppressed. That's all they're claiming. And that's all the trials have ever claimed. And so we have these fake potions that not even the makers claim will protect you from getting it or transmitting it. But if you have the vaccine that won't stop you getting it or transmitting it, you can go to work and go about all these different basic human things. But people who haven't had it and are no more or less, even if you believe it exists, no more or less likely to get it or not get it than you, the vaccinated people, you can't go to work and can't do the basic things of life. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you, first of all, they're lying to you. It tells you the gullibility of vast numbers of people. It's stunning. And those gullible people are about to pass that gullibility on to their children with consequences. Oh, get the vaccine, darling, save you from the virus. Not even the makers say that. And so there has to be another reason why they are going to these hysterical, fascist levels of pressure to get people to take this vaccine, alleged vaccine. And it's because of what's in it and what it's planned to do. And I've been talking about this for so long. It's about changing the nature of human genetics. Do you know, mate, doctors, it must be the same in Israel. I mean, it's almost, I mean, what? We've got doctors in this country, and they'll be the same all over the world, who've had this vaccine themselves and have no idea what's in it. No idea, never looked. We have doctors who've had the vaccine that don't even know that it's not being given approval because of the so-called trials are ongoing, with the population. And it's only been given emergency approval, not full approval, because the test has not been done. And these doctors don't even know that. And this is the scale of idiocy and, frankly, in terms of the doctors, contempt for their patients that we're seeing. And those patients that just do what they're told because some bloke in a white coat says, or some government dark suit, they are showing contempt for themselves to just do it without question. What people need to understand is these vaccinations alleged are putting synthetic genetic material into the biological genetic system. And it uses a trick, which has become known as the Trojan horse, to trick the cell that would otherwise reject synthetic material to open the gateway and let the synthetic material in. And then that synthetic material starts to replicate. And in it is nanotechnology, transmitting and receiving nanotechnology. And all the time, once you've had this fake vaccine, that technology is self-replicating and getting more and more control over the genetic structure. And people are about to do it. Some people already are, to their children. We have parents, well, they're not, but that's what they're called, who have signed up kids as young as 6 months, their own children, for these trials for this vaccine on children, who know nothing whatsoever about it. And so if you are going to do that, there is no level of clinical insanity and contempt for your kids that you can possibly, any limit to it if you'll go that far. So this is where we are. And the kids are about to get it because of the idiocy and contempt, self-contempt of much of the population in just letting some dark suit. I mean, Netanyahu's going through a corruption trial. And there's people, there have been people in the streets calling for Netanyahu to, step down, corruption. But a lot of those people will have had the vaccine that Netanyahu tells them they should have. When Netanyahu's lying, like all these other people, like Biden and Johnson, because the lips are moving. So if they want you to have it, that's telling you it's the last thing you should do. But naivety, unfortunately, is the real pandemic.
Or ignorance.
Ignorance comes from that. When you have contempt for yourself to the level that you will not check out what you're being told by authority, but you'll just do it. Well, of course, a consequence of that is ignorance. Ignorance, ignoring other possibilities.
The last 2 days, I show a paper from the John Hopkins Bloomberg that it says that the vaccines are acting as a virus. They can spread themselves to heal, not to get sick. I talk with a few doctors that I know, like you also know him, Dr. Kaufman. Dr. Kaufman.
Yeah, Andrew Kaufman, yeah.
Yeah. And I talk with another doctor in Germany, Lanka, that he's a good player now. I'm bringing
Stefan Lanka, yeah, he's been on the case of viruses for a long time. There is no evidence that there is such a thing as an infectious virus, not just SARS-CoV-2, any.
Correct, and I'm bringing him Sunday on the show here in Israel.
Yeah, that's a great move.
Yeah, and I will tell to the Israeli government, I will give them a paper with Lanka that we give them 1 month to prove that there is a virus, according to this, you have to make V that you made the correct test. So of course they are not going to do it, but we are going to appeal to a court after with Dr. Lanka that he have the experience in court for those cases. So this is what the move that I'm trying to make. And I asked them about this, that how can a vaccine can be spread himself as a virus? I mean, and they say it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's never can be. So if they lie, if the system lie, and we see we are more than 1 year now, why the people? Not why. How can we open the eyes of the people that don't want to see the truth? I mean, is there a way, or I have to let it go and okay, guy, you did your best and that's it?
Well, we are there, and over the last 30 years, when I've been on this path of exposing all this, you learn to focus your efforts on people that have some kind of opening in their mind that could again have the self-respect to look at other explanations for what's happening in the world. Until that glimmer of light, that sluice gate of the mind opens a bit, then you're just talking to a wall. And this is a psyop. It's a global psyop. It's a psychological operation. And the foundation of everything that's happened since this COVID hoax began has been psychological. In Britain, the whole COVID restrictions regime and government policy is being driven by psychologists. We have a psychologist in Britain, a behavioral psychologist called Susan Mikey, Professor Susan Mikey. She's a member of the British Communist Party. She was known as Stalin's nanny when she was at university because of her Marxist extremism. And she's one of the key psychologists that are driving government policy. She's on the main science advisory group and other behavioral psychology manipulation groups that advise the government. And she's the one that's on the television, the BBC and these other mainstream television outlets have her on all the time to spout her rubbish. And she's been one of the biggest proponents for having children wear masks all day at school, which is devastating for their health and psychology. And she actually said, this is the contempt that these people have for you. She actually said that, wearing masks, kids wearing masks at schools might, not make any difference really, or any significant difference. But by getting the kids to wear masks, we got a better chance of getting the adults to do it. So let's just use the kids and their health and their psychology to get at the adults and their health and their psychology. This is the mentality. And these people must, in Israel and everywhere else that's been involved in this, they must go before a new Nuremberg trial, this time with a public jury. And we need Nuremberg type trials in every single country to put these people on public display and make them justify their actions. They won't be able to. This is another one of the great ironies, mate. The Nuremberg Code on forced medical procedures, like forced by people like Mengele in the concentration camps, the Nuremberg Code was designed specifically as a result of that to stop this happening again. And now we have the Israeli government, Sabbatean government in truth, breaking the Nuremberg codes on their own people. So you have the Nuremberg codes created to stop what the Sabbateans did in Nazi Germany, now being broken by the Sabbateans that run Israel, just like the Sabbateans that run Biden and the Roman Catholic Church, and the Sabbatean, not Arabic, Saudi royal family, that again is all part of this cult.
Well, that's so strange because you know in Israel before it was the pandemic, when you go to a mall, they check your bag, everyone. So now 1 year and more, they are not checking your bag. They checking also only your temperature. You know, so there is no. They change the fear. I say to the Israeli people here, they changed the fear. They took the terror, Arab terror, and now they do a bioterror. Why they don't check also the bags? Why that stop? Why there is no bomb, one bomb, all this year? What happened this year? Why we don't have like a simple flu in Israel? There is only coronavirus. I mean, before the vaccines, David, before the vaccines, people died from the coronavirus. Now that there is a vaccine, when people die, what the government said, no, they died with the vaccine, not from the vaccine.
Yeah.
They said,
I mean, exactly the same is happening everywhere because it's centrally coordinated. The way it works is you've got this global cult, to which Sabbateanism is a very influential, very influential part, but not the only part. And it owns the World Health Organization, which is the fiefdom currently of Bill Gates. And he owns Tedros, the Director General of the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization then sends out instructions on how this quote virus must be dealt with to its member states. And each member state, you've got the pyramid hierarchy of their medical system with the chief medical officer and chief scientific advisor at the top in different countries. In Britain, it's a guy called Christopher Whitty and Patrick Vallance. In America, it's Fauci, of course, who's, if he ever told the truth about anything, he would genetically implode from the shock, Fauci. And they then dictate from the peak of that national health pyramid, alleged health pyramid, to the whole system. And the doctors, the nurses, and the medical professionals either do what the hierarchy at the top tells them, or they're out. And so through this very simple structure, what the World Health Organization says has been imposed on virtually the entire world. And if you look at the RT-PCR test, which is not testing for the virus, and you're behind me, I've got a biography of Kerry Mullis. Kerry Mullis was an American scientist who won the Nobel Prize for inventing the PCR test. And as he says, the PCR test cannot detect infectious disease. What he says it does is make lots of somethings out of something. So you take genetic material, not the virus, genetic material. You claim the virus is in there, but you don't prove it because you never have. And the PCR test makes lots of copies, and the more copies it makes, the more genetic material is brought out for the test to test positive to, not the virus, genetic material you have in your body. And as it's been pointed out, if you amplify the test, as they say, make enough copies, eventually everybody that takes the test will test positive. And so what they've done, this is what they've done. I predicted months ago they'd do this. Well, back in 2020, is they have a fake vaccine that is nothing to do with this fake virus. Nothing. It's about something else. It's changing the genetic nature of the body. and the mind come to that, because through the brain. And so they were rolling out this vaccine through December, and then more and more and more into January and onwards. And somehow they had to show or give the impression that this thing was working, when it was nothing to do with a virus. So even if there was a virus, it weren't going to be working, but they had to give the impression. Now, what happened is that in January 2020, a bloke in Germany, I'm sure Stefan Lanke will be able to talk about this fella. His name is Christian Drosten. Christian Drosten is a virologist, and he came out with the protocol for testing for so-called SARS-CoV-2. A protocol testing with a test that the maker of the test, the inventor of the test, says can't test for infectious disease. It was not peer reviewed. It went to the World Health Organization immediately, because this Drosten's just a bloody crook. And he actually is being taken to court for crimes against humanity currently by Rainer Fulmich in Germany, a very prominent lawyer. And the World Health Organization immediately told its member countries, almost every country in the world, this is the protocol to use through the PCR test to test for the virus, which the PCR test can't test for. This is the level of scam we're going on about. So even Fauci in America, the liar's liar, said that if you amplify the test, make more and more copies, beyond 35 cycles of amplification, it's a waste of time, because basically above that will all be fake positives. Now, I say it's 100% fake positives, and so does the maker of the test. But let's go with Fauci's 35 cycles. The National Health Service, and most other countries in the world, National Health Service in Britain, has been using 45 cycles of amplification. At least one laboratory has been using 50 cycles of amplification, which, as someone said, at that level of amplification, a stone would test positive for SARS-CoV-2. Well, in theory. And this is why in Tanzania, you had a pawpaw fruit and a goat test positive when it was sent in under human names, tested positive for SARS-CoV-2. This is why a German politician sent off a sample from a glass of cola, and it came back positive for SARS-CoV-2. Right. So all the way through 2020, because they want the cases up to frighten people and justify lockdown, they've been running this 45 cycles of amplification. And I've quoted in my books the last one, The Answer. The difference when laboratories in America have done a 30 cycle amplification against a 45 cycle amplification, or a 30 against a 40, the difference between the two in the number of positive cases the test appears to give is absolutely dramatic. I mean, you're talking like 80, 90% fewer positive tests when you drop the amplification that much, right? So what happened in January, just as these vaccines were being rolled out, and if they were going to be taken seriously, they had to appear to be having some effect on this alleged virus. On the inauguration day of Joe Biden, appropriately, the World Health Organization came out and said to the laboratories of the world, we think your amplification is too high. And maybe it's giving too many false positives. And the advice was, the order was, to lower the amplification of the test. And as you lower the amplification, which is what they've done, the test is going to produce, depending on the level of reduction, ever more or ever fewer fake positives or alleged positives, cases. And the more you reduce the cases, the fewer people are going to die, because the fewer people who die of other things are going to have had a positive PCR test, which would make COVID-19 go on the death certificate, even though they've died of something else. And so by reducing the amplifications, you lower the number of cases and you lower the number of deaths. And they say, look what the vaccine's doing, when it's nothing to do with a vaccine. It's to do with lowering the amplification of the test, which the World Health Organization recommended at just the time the vaccines were playing out. And what's planned in the future, and will be happening in places like India now, is where they say there's a variant, there's a new variant, we've got to scare them. They'll be whacking the amplification of the tests up. And then they'll say, oh, look, we got more and more cases and more deaths. The variant, the vaccine, it worked. Did you see it worked? But it's not working on this. So we've got to have another vaccine. And they're already being developed, already exist, for these variants. And I saw a story. It's on davidicke.com today, where they're claiming that lions at a zoo in Hyderabad have tested positive for SARS-CoV-2. And one of the things I've said in my book this year, last year, The Answer, is they're going to be bringing out the claim that animals can get this and animals can pass it on to humans, because they want to target the animals as well. And there's a reason for that. Again, it's all part of the psychology. But then you ask the question, how do you know these lions have got SARS-CoV-2? Well, they tested positive, yes, with a test, not testing for the virus. So this test, as Rainer Fulmich, the lawyer in Germany, well knows, and that's the foundation of so much of what he's doing in terms of taking these people on in law, the test is the absolute foundation of how this scam's been pulled off. And so don't let them kid you that the vaccine makes any difference. It doesn't, a positive difference. It makes a difference in changing your body from a biological state to cumulatively a synthetic biological state.
Well, that's for sure. And let's not forget that Karim Mully died 3 months before it all started. I mean, how coincidence can be.
Well, Kerry Mullis, because of what he said before, would have been screaming from the rooftops through this period if it had been alive. You cannot use my test for this. It's not what it's made for. It cannot detect infectious disease. And he realized before that there was something dodgy going on with this virus theory, because he tells the story in his book how he was going on with his tests and developing his test, and he heard that some virologists, one in France, one in America, had proved that the HIV virus causes a disease called AIDS. So in fact, there's not a disease called AIDS, actually. You die of other things, and if you've tested positive for HIV, they say you've died of AIDS. If you've not tested positive for HIV, they say you've died of whatever you've died from. It was just a pre-runner for a precursor for what they were going to do with the COVID. So he thought, okay, fair enough. They've found that HIV causes AIDS, all right. And then he was doing some work in a laboratory with his PCR test, and he was doing a report, and he wanted to put a reference at the bottom of the report that people could go to the paper that showed HIV causes AIDS. And he couldn't find it. So he asked the virologist at the laboratory, can you tell me where I can lead people to show the research that HIV causes AIDS? And the virologist says, "Oh no, you don't have to. You don't have to do that. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows it causes AIDS." Oh, really? Well, he said, "No, no, no. I want to put a reference in that to where people can find it. So where do I find it?" And the virologist said, "Oh, well, go and look at the CDC paper, the Centers for Disease Control in America." And he went and he read the paper, and there was nothing in that paper to show that HIV caused AIDS. Eventually, one of the guys in the guy in France who claims to have shown that or proved that HIV causes AIDS, he attended a conference that Mullis attended. So he took the opportunity, and he went over to this bloke and he said, "Oh, can you give me the reference that where I can see that HIV causes AIDS?" And the guy who claims to have proved it said, "Well, go and look at the CDC paper." He said, "I have. There's nothing in there that shows that HIV causes AIDS. It just says it does." And the penny dropped that actually there was no proof, no paper that there is an HIV virus or that it alleged causes AIDS. And eventually he said, and I did all this research into HIV and AIDS way back for earlier books. And there was a guy called Duesberg. He was a very famous virologist. They destroyed his career because of what he came out with. And I quoted Duesberg in my books. And Mullis said he's driving home from the university one night, and on public radio came this interview with this guy Duesberg, who is saying there is no proof that HIV causes AIDS. There's not a paper in the world that says HIV causes AIDS or proves it. And Mullis said it dawned on me why I couldn't find any paper to show that HIV causes AIDS, because it doesn't exist. And that story I've just told is exactly the foundation of the story of COVID-19, in which there is no scientific paper that shows that there is a SARS-CoV-2 virus, let alone that it causes a disease called COVID-19.
Well, it's all there. It's all there. I mean, more clearly than this, we are not going to find. Can you tell me, please, a little bit about Iconic? Would you like to say a few words? Because I see, I mean, your next generation is running, my friend. Is running and fast.
Well, we could see a couple of years ago that we were about to enter a period of hysterical censorship. I mean, they've been going for me since the 1990s. It's just been getting more and more extreme. And so my son Jamie had the idea to start a.
God bless him.
Yeah, God bless him. An alternative version of Netflix, basically, in which it would be a video platform that would have original documentaries. We've done a few of them already, not least on vaccinations and informed consent. The Vax, the highly censored Vaxxed movie, that's available on Iconic. We've got the rights to that. And we have a series of sort of live programs. We have a one now every Friday called Right Now, which my son Gareth presents, which is, I watched last week's. It was tremendous. Really cutting edge stuff with cutting edge people. And we have series, and it's not just about this information, it's about the whole range of alternative information. So there's documentaries on the esoteric, on psychology, even on dentistry, every area of life, but looking at it from another angle, looking at it from another perspective that the mainstream is not telling you. And I've been absolutely delighted with it. I do an hour and a half every week on Iconic, going through the news of the week from another perspective. And all all my recorded talks over the years and the major interviews that I've done with people, they're all on Iconic, and it's something I'm delighted with, because in this era of extraordinary censorship, what you can do is feel sorry for yourself and feel a victim, or you can get on with it. So when they stopped us playing videos on YouTube, stopped us playing videos on Vimeo. In fact, in that hysterical period in the spring of 2020, when I was being cancelled from everywhere, why? What did I say immediately before I was cancelled on all these platforms? I was saying there is no virus. The whole thing's a scam. There is no virus. And that's the big penny drop they don't want people to see. But I was cancelled by Facebook and YouTube. But at that time, Iconic, which only started a few months earlier, was we were building our own player, but it was being played. The videos were being played off Vimeo. And overnight, Vimeo just deleted every single video. There were hundreds even by then. Every single one they just deleted. Didn't tell us. Deleted.
I was one of the videos with dear Jeremy. Yeah, Jamie.
Yeah, and so what you do is what you can do is just give up and say, what's the point? Or you can say, okay, how do we get around this? And so we now have our own player. We're not beholden to any of these people. And of course, we had copies of all the videos. So we just I say we, Jamie and the team, painstakingly just put them all back. And that's what you have to do. And what's one of the great things that's happening is, as YouTube, which is a fascist organization, it's owned by Google, which is a fascist organization. I mean, people like Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, she has to go before a Nuremberg trial. Same with Brin and Page at Google and Zuckerberg at Facebook and all these people, because they are guilty of crimes against humanity. I mean, when you have a situation where Mark Zuckerberg is caught on an internal video conference saying in the summer of last year that people should just be a bit careful of these vaccines because they're changing DNA and RNA. And at the same time, this man was censoring anyone who posted that same comment, those same comments, those same views on his platform. So here's a man who knows that he's censoring justified concerns about this vaccine. That's a crime against humanity alone, and should justify a Nuremberg trial. But what's great is that people, instead of just saying, I'm a victim, oh, what can we do? It's terrible. They've started their own video platforms. They've started their own social media platforms that are not censoring. And so, necessity is the mother of invention, and we have necessity to find other ways of communicating information, and it's happening. And around the world, despite all the censorship, there is an awakening going on. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we had a march against lockdown and these restrictions in London with hundreds of thousands of people. There's another one on the 15th of May I'm going to be at, and another one 2 weeks later. It's really, really building. And, this is not over yet. I tell you that. No way.
Well, I know that you have to run and you have another things to do, but I want to give you my personal perspective of what we talk about 5 minutes.
Okay.
The last 5 minutes. First of all, I want to thank you in the name of all the audience here in Israel for time that you give to talk with us, of course. And my personal perspective is, I'm happy because I know now that you have more time with your kids now, and you are building and creating something together, something that you started way, way back. in the past, and I see all the videos how you look the place and how you know Jamie send me how you find the place to do. There is the cameras, there is this, you know, everything. It was so excited, and I believe that you three together now, you are a power that some nothing can stop you. If you know what I mean. And I believe that iconic should be something universal, like iconic Latin, iconic, you know, in all the also French, also Russia. Yeah, why not? This is what I said
Well,
that to.
that's where we want to go. Yeah, I mean, we obviously want to build it and build it and build it. And I've also got my daughter Kerry, who is an absolute ball of energy, and she's driving forward with all this as well. So I'm kind of fortunate in that you know, I feel so much for people who maybe they're one in a family who's seen it and the rest of the family can't. It must be a nightmare for them. I'm fortunate in the fact that all my family have got it big time.
Are you happy?
Oh yeah, I'm happy that you know, my my children have turned out as they have, because they've all got backbones, they've all got determination, and they've all got the desire and the determination to push this forward. So you know, like I say, it's not over yet. It's not over yet.
It's just the beginning, and I'm happy for you and for all the team, all your family. And well, again, David, I really want to thank you, and I know that I have to release you to the rest of your day, but thank you very much, and you know how much I love you, and of course, your kids are wonderful, wonderful. And well, I will keep in touch with you and check with you when we have both the time, and we'll do it again as time let us.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And I've just finished another book, which is going to be out as fast as we can get it out, a matter of weeks. It's called Perceptions of a Renegade Mind, and it's very, very topical. And it's about what's going on many levels and what we can do about it. And it's not one of my mega books. Well, it's not short, but it's not one of my mega books. It's specifically written for people who, because of the events of the last more than a year, have said there's something going on. What's going on? What's happening? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? And it brings it all together between two covers. So that's why I wrote it so fast, because I think it needs to circulate so people can see how the dots connect very quickly between you know, in one book.
There are some words that you want to say to the Israeli people for the end of this interview.
Well, yeah, you know, we can self-identify with a label. You know, I'm Jewish, I'm Arabic, I am white American, whatever, and that's fine. You know, it's an experience, it's a uniqueness, and we should celebrate uniqueness. But in the end, beyond the labels and the self identities, we're all the same. You know, we're all the same consciousness, and we're all being manipulated by the same force. And you know what I'm seeing, and this is one of the great things, is there is a parting of the ways at the moment, and we are seeing two societies develop very rapidly. One, and they're both very different mentalities. So they're different societies. Because what is a society? It's the sum total of the mentality, perceptions of the people. And you've got those that are just, you know, unquestioningly following what they're told, and abusing those that are questioning it. And that's a certain kind of mentality. And I look at them, and I tend to see a lot of people who aren't very happy. And I don't see a lot of joy. And then I see the people who are awakening, and it doesn't matter what color the body is, it doesn't matter what religion that they follow, it doesn't matter what sexuality they are. What matters is their perception, their state of mentality. And when I see the hundreds of thousands of people that walk through London in protest at all, there's so many people, the police can't do anything. They're walking down the middle of the roads, they can't do anything. And you've got the bus drivers and the taxi drivers that should be, you know, kind of angry that their way is blocked, who are cheering them on and applauding them. So there is a massive awakening going on that this is seriously not good what's happening, and there's some very dark force behind it. True, but what I'm seeing in the marches is happiness. I'm seeing joy. I'm seeing hugs. I'm seeing mutual support. I'm seeing smiles, and this is the new society that we can create. And you know, instead of you know, chasing how things were, we need to be surely saying, how can we create something different? Not the great reset and the new normal of Klaus bloody Schwab and Bill the psychopath Gates, but a new society that's based on love and joy and mutual support. Because the carrot that is taking people into a very, very dark place is called going back to how it was. So they say, go under house arrest and then it can go back to how it was. Yes, okay. Okay, now wear a mask. Oh yeah, wear a mask, and then you know, we'll sort this out and we'll go back to normal. Okay. Oh, okay. And then, oh yes, have the vaccine, and then everything can go back to normal. Oh yeah, thank you very much. And they have no intention of it going back to normal. They don't call it the great reset and the new normal for you know, for a laugh. It's because the world is being transformed, and it's being transformed, and people are getting pulled into it by chasing this idea of going back to how it was. And they'll continue to do this. You know, they've said another one, get tested, and then it will go back to how it was. And of course, the more people get tested with a test not testing for the virus, the more fake cases, the further from how it was you go, because, oh, we've got to lock down and do this now because of all the cases. It's all a scam. And so instead of chasing what was, maybe we can build something better, not Klaus Schwab's better, but something based on a mutual respect, mutual support, love across the religious divide, love across the racial divide, love across the sexuality divide. And we can build something that will bring something really positive out of this catastrophe that has been visited on the human race. Okay, you know, I'm called an Englishman, and I love England. I love its landscape. Why? Because I was born here, and I was brought up here, and I fell in love with it. If I'd have been born in another country, I probably fell in love with that landscape. It's where you're born, and all the information and the programming as well that you get makes you see the world in a certain way. But I don't self-identify with being an Englishman called David Icke, born in Leicester, England in 1952. That's my experience. It's what I'm experiencing. I am what is having the experience, consciousness, the same consciousness that is the Jewish people, that is the Arabic people, that is the Hindu people. We're all the same consciousness, and we are united by far more than what divides us. And it's the division that allows the few to control the many. It's the unity that will bring down the house of cards.
Well, let the Great Reset be the alternative way that this is unity. That's it. So simple. Thank you very
Yeah,
much, Mr. David Icke, my dear friend. Well,
Thanks, mate. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
same here. There is a lot of love for all of you here in Israel. One day, you will come and make a production here. My
Ah,
my
I do hope.
promising.
I do hope so. When Netanyahu's in jail for corruption, that would be great.
Now he's out. Now Bennett is going to be.
Yeah, well, we'll see where it goes, but
We
we
will talk when it happens. Don't worry.
we've got to watch the forces in the background, not just the people on the front line.
That's right. That's right. Well, let me give you a bless for your day to continue the day. And again, thank you very much, Mr. David.
Thanks, mate.